Hey everybody, it's the BKBK podcast where sports and the culture collide and the New York Jets reign supreme. I'm your host, Brandon Phillips, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Brian Taylor, Terry Taylor, and Captain Kyle McKenna. All right, so hey, welcome to the new year, all right? Happy New Year, everybody,
Yay,
2023.
whatever.
Yeah, yep, and goodbye to the Jets 2022 season.
Yeah.
Welcome to
The
the
Jets
first
wrapped
podcast of the off season.
Yeah, first podcast of the off season. The Jets just wrapped up their 2022 season, and it's another year of not making the playoffs. So that makes it a league high 12 years straight of not making the playoffs. So we haven't made the playoffs since what, single digits? No, actually, no, since 2010.
12
Yeah,
years.
yeah, it's either
Since
way.
the can't wait game.
Yeah, since you can't wait, gee whiz.
Mm.
So yeah, so that basically, you know, I don't even know what to say. It's
I was much slimmer back then. You could say that.
what'd you say?
I said I was much slimmer back then.
You're much slimmer.
I think we all were.
Except for
I was
me.
just trying to speak for myself. I didn't want to throw anybody else out there. You know what I mean?
I'm actually slimmer now, but that sucks.
I'm at my career. I'm at my career high. So
Yeah, and you know what? I just started hitting the gym this week, so I've been there twice now,
Mm.
and I don't know, man. It's a long journey.
Listen,
Whatever.
you're just trying to make it to February. You know what I mean? If you make it to February with the New Year's resolution, then maybe you make it to the rest of the year. But I don't
Yeah.
know. You got a couple weeks to go, my dude. Let's
I
find
know,
out.
I know, I know. It's tough, bro. You know what I'm saying? Gee whiz. Anyway, so
well,
yeah,
it,
so we're talking about like how we're at our heaviest and weight and everything. So for our audience at home watching, that just goes to show you where our mindset is right now. It's not in a good place. Everybody's having fat thoughts because the Jets stink.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I lost my train of thought, but it's
so
oh my
the
god.
last time we were this close to making the playoffs was the Ryan Fitzpatrick kind of crash at the end of
When we lost to the Bills, right?
that season.
On the
When we
week
lost to the
17.
Bills, last game of the season. So we were relevant up until we weren't anymore.
Rex Ryan, that was the coach of the Tampa Bay Bucks. He was his first year.
Oh
Forget his
yeah,
name. Oh my
Oh,
yeah. Bowles, Todd
it was
Bowles.
it was
yeah,
Todd it was
Todd
Todd
Bowles.
Bowles'
Yeah,
first year.
Todd Bowles. Yep.
So we're going back to what was it 16
2015.
15 or 16. So both of those seasons ended really in week 17. We have the +1 week now in the new season. So comparatively, this feels much worse to me than that did. Like that was super disappointing, but it was more like like they took you out at the end, right? Right. It was all the way up to the wire. Whereas this kind of feels as though we like tripped and fell over the finish line, and I don't know. I mean, they both have the same result, but what do you guys? I mean, did you guys think that this was worse or better than that time?
Uh, Honestly, I feel like that was worse to me because all we had to do, like we were somewhat on the high. We expected to go into Buffalo, a team that had nothing to play for. I don't think they were making the playoffs. They weren't really that good. And we were a 10-win team. And we were going to go in there and beat them. And then we were just going to go to the playoffs. We spent a lot of money in free agency to put that team together. And afterwards, we had to completely tear it down. It was put together with tape and bubble gum. We had the Ryan Fitzpatrick thing at the beginning of the season. Had to pay him. Finally got the contract. But everything fell apart after that. I don't feel that way right now because of the first round draft picks, the Sauce Gardners out there that are ascending right on rookie deals. The Brees Hall, right? The the Garrett Wilsons of the world. The
I
thing.
gotta go next when you're done.
Oh,
I gotta
fine.
go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you looked at where we were going to at the beginning of the season, we wanted to be relevant going into December. We did that, right? We wanted to not be doing mock drafts in October. Accomplish that. The disappointment comes from a 7-4 start, right? And we had everything in front of us. But then we lost Brees Hall, right? Then we lost AVT in the same game, not realizing how pivotal those players were to our success on the offensive side of the ball. And when you look at that, it's like, well, he's our best player, right? Almost offensive rookie of the year if he kept down that path, right? And so I just feel like it's a lot, man. We had 4 wins last year. We have 7 wins under our belt this year. I think we have a lot to look forward to in the future. I didn't feel that way after the game against Buffalo. So that's my 2 cents.
I hear you, B. And you know what? It makes sense what you're saying, but for me, it's. I think I was more disappointed this year because it was like more of a roller coaster. Because we start off 0-2. You know, we had our preseason selections of what we thought our record was going to be. The next thing you know, we're at like 7-3, and it's like, you know what? We actually have a good team, and it's like, well, why do we think that? We're beating teams that like we shouldn't have beaten, and we keep beating them. So it's like, oh wow, we actually are good. And then we're seeing the defense come together. We're seeing all of our rookies, you know, at least the ones that are playing very well and giving us that lift as well. And then, you know, we're even winning with Zach Wilson not playing well. And that kind of camouflaged his shortcomings. And not all of us were able to see it, you know, and I'll include myself in that. I wasn't able to see it to the extent that I'm seeing it now. And I'm looking at like, all right, all he needs to do is just incrementally improve. We have a good defense. We have a good running game with Brees, and he can just keep getting better from week to week. He is our the number 2 pick in the draft, first round pick. You know, I think he's just going to get better. I think I've seen enough of him, and the coaching staff and the GM has seen enough of him to have that belief in him that he will get better. So we started low, we come up high, and then we go low, and then we come up high, and then we crash and burn. So it was just a highly emotional season for me. Now I don't believe in Zach Wilson, and you guys know I was Team Zach Wilson from the giddy up. You know, I was talking about how I quote unquote found him. You know, the year, you know, 2 years ago, when I started doing like my search early and you know my mock drafts all early and everything. And then I was like, yo, you got to check out this kid Zach Wilson. And then we started talking about him more, and then all of a sudden he's on our team, and it was just a huge disappointment. Brees Hall, I absolutely fell in love with, and he's out now. The fact that he is out, it just exposes our offensive line for what it is, and that basically is not good. Even with the new acquisitions that were, you know, a big disappointment. Fant didn't have a good year.
At
Tomlinson
all.
has utterly terrible. He's the worst.
Terrible.
He's the worst O lineman on our squad. McGovern, below average. I know Kerry's looking at me all funny, but I'm not destroying him. But he is below average. Makai Becton can't even suit up once again. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a huge disappointment. And the thing is, what makes it even more disappointing is that we had an excellent draft and we have promise, but we just saw that promise just get crumbled in front of our very eyes. It was hard to watch from game to game, and now we end our season with a 6-game losing streak that just destroys us. So,
Mm.
whatever, man.
McGovern has a
Terry,
69 PFF, by the way. I mean, it's not
who
below.
does?
McGovern 69, which is not below average, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Sorry.
King PFF. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's up, Kerry? What you got? Because I know you got something to say.
of course.
Yeah, you know, if we go back to how we're evaluating this year, I think the biggest thing that we all wanted to do was be able to say we had our quarterback, right? And even if we had a season where we didn't win enough games and didn't make the playoffs, if the question of quarterback was answered, then you would consider that a level of success or a level of ascension. The problem with this year, as opposed to the other year in which you guys were addressing, as it relates to the quarterback position, is that we had our hopes up high on acquiring, on evaluating and making a determination on the quarterback who we felt was going to be our um, franchise quarterback, and that decision, or that evaluation is still in flux. And so we haven't answered the question, right? Yeah, we have an all-time running back at in his rookie season. We have an all-time receiver in his rookie season. We have an all-time corner, franchise corner in their rookie season, all pro, in fact. But at the end of the day, as an organization, you are going to be evaluated based on if you have a long-term answer at quarterback, and we don't have that answer. So, um, that said, I'm looking at both the head coach and the offensive coordinator in terms of their lack of ability to put that quarterback in the best possible situations to have success. And I didn't see that happening. And again, I'm not vouching for the ability of this quarterback, Zach Wilson, because clearly he has some shortcomings. When you were not only sent to the bench, but weren't allowed to dress, right? So that speaks to you as a leader. That speaks to your um, uh, sort of attitude. That speaks to your immaturity. And if you're wearing that C on your chest, because he did wear that C on his chest this year, what does that say about your organization?
Just not in college. He didn't wear it in college though, and that's a problem.
Well, he did, but it's a technicality.
Right. I don't care about what he wore in college. I'm concerned about what he's wearing here and how he is going to be evaluated based on what he's doing here. And again, I'm not mad about your inability to read defenses. I'm not as necessarily
You
mad
aren't?
about your ability. Well, again, when I'm talking about in a general sense, right? Because it's about learning, right? It's about learning from your mistakes, and it's about making sure you don't make the same mistake twice or for the third time or the fourth time. The problem with this young man is that he's continuing to make the same mistakes over and over and showing his inability to hit receivers that are open.
So
right?
what do you think Saleh and LaFleur could have done differently in order to put this young man in a position to succeed this year? Because I mean, some of the things you're talking about, the immaturity. I mean, they have no control over how mature the kid is, right? I mean, so that's there's some of the things that he said that at the end of that game that they had to take him off the field for not being able to hit somebody 5 yards in front of you or on a screen or just like these short passes or whatever else. How much more could they have done in order to put him in a position to be able to do that? The simple stuff. And the decision making is the other piece of it. Go ahead.
Right, but let me answer your question and say this. The offensive coordinator, LaFleur, said at the end of this year that in hindsight, Zach Wilson should have sat behind a veteran quarterback and watched him play, right? His rookie year. So my question would have been that the moment that he made those comments during the game, after the game, within which he was specifically asked if he could have played better, or I'm not sure what the question was, but does he feel like he let down his team? And his response was no. Right at that particular point, that's when they should have said, "Look, you need to sit down for the remainder of the year and let Mike White play from this point forward. If in fact you felt like, if in fact what you're saying at the end of the year is, he would have benefited from sitting behind a veteran quarterback.
I wonder
do
when
you think?
Lamar
Hold
had
on.
his first thought. I wonder when he first had that thought. I wonder if it was Zach Wilson's rookie year, where that thought, that epiphany, just came into his mind. You know, just the general, just.
I'd like to hear
Mike LaFleur is not making that call. First of all, he's not in the place where.
I'm not saying he did make the call. I'm saying is, as an organization, that had to have been discussed for him to bring it up at the end of the season. No.
Yeah, but do you think that Zach Wilson would have started any other games for the rest of the year when he was sat down if Mike White hadn't gotten hurt?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, Mike White got hurt. We're missing that, right? They got cracked ribs.
That's the only reason he was. They had no other choice. But
they did have other choices. They could have played Flacco.
Well, they
could have started Flacco.
But you're in a playoff race, right? You have playoffs in front of you. You have somebody that started and was 5-2 for you early on in the season. If he's contrite and you feel like maybe he's making advances, don't you owe it to yourself to put the best player with the offensive line you have, the best player out there?
Was he making advances? You're saying he was 5-2, but he was 5-2 not because of him. He was 5-2. They were 5-2
totally. But I mean, so you have Flacco. You have Flacco, or you have him.
Right, and this is the argument that I made during that 5-2 stretch. The dude still doesn't understand how to read a defense pre-snap.
Certainly, but okay, look at the offensive line.
It wasn't like my message had changed because we were winning games. I was saying the same thing. If we go back to the text chain.
Oh, so was I. Nobody was excusing him for the mistakes that he was making out there. All I'm saying is the Jets had two choices. Mike White is off the table. All you have is Flacco, who just put up 6 points against a Skylar Thompson, who is second start in the NFL, right? And
right, not 6 points against Skylar Thompson, 6 points against this defense,
which is not good.
6 points against this defense that's still elite with 3 offensive lineman starters out.
Okay, I'm talking about the opposition.
I want to let Kyle in here as the Taylor brothers continue to argue.
It's like Thanksgiving.
Cool off,
like Thanksgiving after dinner. I am going to side with Kerry a little bit on this if we're talking specifically about the decision about whether to go to Zach Wilson or Flacco, because I second guessed that today while I was watching Flacco complete all those passes to Garrett Wilson. And that's an honest assessment of in hindsight. Now, we were talking on the thread yesterday, even going back to the LaFleur comment of him sitting behind a vet, even if he had sat behind a vet last year, it would have been no more than 6 games because you would have had to put him in, because you would have had to start that on-field evaluation, because next year is the put up or shut up year where you have to re-sign him or take or grab his option. Same thing that we got into with Sam Darnold. So, I mean, Zach Wilson is not going anywhere. Zach Wilson's on the team next year.
Yep. Yeah.
Zach Wilson is still being evaluated pre-season up to the start of the game, until the start of regular season. So, with that said, we've had all this speculation about what veterans we could bring in and things like that. That's going to have a lot to do with availability. Going to have a lot to do with salary cap.
Yep.
And having to fix the other things that you have to do. I think that one thing that we want to really harp on here is there's a difference between disappointment and failure. And the reason I brought up the whole thing before was I'm in a period of disappointment right now. My hopes were brought up to a point of relevance, right? And then they were shot.
When, coach, though, when were your hopes brought up? Before
2 weeks ago.
Started?
Two weeks ago. Okay. I mean, this is the guy that predicted 10 wins, right? 3 more wins than I think the highest of anybody else. And my prediction was not based on the first 7 games of the year. It was based on the last 7 games of the year.
Right.
So I thought that we had wins against Seattle, Detroit, and Jacksonville. We didn't beat any of those teams. and we beat a whole bunch of teams that I thought we weren't going to beat. So if we're looking at that plus minus 3 right there, difference between 7 and 10,
you could have
I'm
included
just
Detroit as well. You could have even included Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit in there, I think.
right. Yeah. So I'm disappointed, right? But we're plus wins on the year with a team that lost 4 games without the defense giving up a touchdown.
Sure.
Including today. So today's another loss. 2 to the Patriots, 1 to who there was another game where we didn't give up a touchdown. I can't remember which one it is. But then today. So 4 games.
Detroit, right?
Yeah.
No,
So
Detroit they gave up a touchdown.
We did? Okay.
Yeah. Late.
4 games we didn't give up a touchdown and we lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sitting here at 7 wins. Our running back situation is great. Our corner situation is great. But you're absolutely right. We have no idea where we're going to be at the end of next year as far as who the quarterback is. But I don't think that CJ Stroud, Young, any of these quarterbacks in the draft are wearing a Jet uniform next year. You're looking at
Nor should they.
Nor should they. You
Yeah.
might be looking at a Jacoby Brissett. You might be looking at a Garoppolo. You might be looking at a Minshew, a Derek Carr trade. Those types of things. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not advocating for it.
No, Derek Carr.
I have a question for you.
That's not going to happen. But
I have a question for you, Coach Kyle, as the coach out of the group here, because I agree with everything you just stated right there. You know what I mean? Well said. Can you have a foundation, a good or a solid foundation, not the perfect one, without having a quarterback? Meaning, like, knowing that you need to get a quarterback, you don't have one yet. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like the Jets have a good foundation, and I don't know if there's any team in the NFL that leaned on their rookies more than the Jets leaned on their rookies this year. And
the Seahawks.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because I understand your question.
Yeah.
Right? But I need you to define foundation.
Right. Well, foundational.
We don't have an offensive line
right
now.
Right.
We don't have a solid. I would say we have a middle of the road core of receivers right now. Right.
You're one away.
Huh?
One receiver away.
One
having a really good
right
group of receivers.
Right.
My definition of foundation is players that you have that are good enough where you add other players to complement them. So Gardner is a number 1, and you can build around him. And we have Reed over there. Quentin Williams is a number 1, and you build around him. You know what I'm saying? Garrett Wilson is a number 1, and you build around him to complement him. And of course, optimally, you would want to have a number 1 quarterback to build around there. So we're not,
or at least 2 offensive linemen that you feel like are plug and play.
Yes, that is true.
Let's go back to the original question.
The number 1 running back.
Foundation.
Right. Yeah. Foundation. Yeah.
So your question, the question asked is, can you consider yourself having a solid foundation going forward if a quarterback isn't part of it? Correct?
Even though we don't have that quarterback yet.
So I think that foundation, as I would define it, is going forward. So like where you are now and what you're building upon, like you said. I think that you can get away with not having a quarterback as part of your foundation for 1 season. Mm-hmm. And you can manipulate things like with a Trent Dilfer, or like a game manager type.
Placeholder mandate type
until you're in the season. This is how you play. Your defense isn't going to give up points, and you're going to score enough touchdowns to win. Right? You got a great kicking game too. But going forward, we will not be relevant after the last game of the season again until we figure out the quarterback thing going forward.
I agree.
Is
I agree.
is
And
Garoppolo?
Kerry, I wasn't dismissing anything that you were saying, Kerry. I agree with everything that you said about the O line. I just want to say that. Go ahead, Brian.
Is Garoppolo a game manager?
I think he's a high-end game manager.
Garoppolo is a training room participant at least 1/3 of every season he plays in.
Availability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I'll
guys say it
disagree
all
with
the
you.
time.
And Garoppolo also wins 71% of his games and has appeared in the Super Bowl. So
Availability.
is he a great quarterback? No, but he is a high-end game manager.
When he's on the field.
I have no issue with Garoppolo if he's healthy.
Right.
And you have to have an insurance policy behind him that will take you to the promised land if he goes down.
Let's go, Zach.
You know, I talked about this with my friend Glenn today. That's who I watched the games with. So I went to the game with last week, and we were just kind of talking about how would the fan base feel if we move forward next year with 2 of the 3 quarterbacks we currently have right now still on the payroll, and that one that's missing being Flacco. I don't think I think that the majority of the fan base, which is an irrational fan base to begin with, I mean, I don't really like Jet fans except that we're the same. You know, a lot of them are totally irrational about the decisions they make. But I think that Zach Wilson and Mike White are on this team next year, and one of them is probably starting more than 3 games.
The
I
problem
don't know
with
if
that,
Mike White is. He's going for that chabo. He wants
right?
He's not going to get it.
No.
Well,
Go ahead, Kerry.
problem with that is you're going to have to commit resources, financial resources, to both Zach Wilson, and if you decide to bring Mike White back, a significant amount of resources to Mike White as well. So that leaves you out of the sweepstakes for any significant free agent quarterback, right? So if we're talking about Garoppolo, who I really feel like we should bring in, then how much in terms of resources are you going to be able to commit to him in terms of resources financially and in terms of how many years, right?
Kerry, financially, there's 3 types of quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
Mhm.
There's the ones that are locked into a rookie salary scale, like
Right.
Zach Wilson is.
Sure.
There is those that command $20+ million a year, and then there's Mike White,
Who is
who
what?
is not going to get more than, you know, I don't even think he'll get more than $15 million a year from anybody.
Right, but my point is that, so to your point, right? So to me, the quarterback is the 75% determinant to your success in this league, right? Meaning, it's worth 75% of whether or not you're going to be successful or not, right? That is a significant chunk of how you're going to rely on what's going to make you successful, right? So you can't employ a rookie quarterback who's on a rookie scale, a Mike White who's gonna command about at least $15 million a year, and then a high end or middle end free agent quarterback. So what you're saying to me is that it's either 2 of the 3.
Yep.
Right?
I agree.
Right? It's not all 3 of them. Right? So what you're saying is that if you're committing to Mike White and you're committing to Zach Wilson, then you're not committing to anybody else that's going to be of significance.
You're not committing to Zach Wilson though. You're just playing out the
rookie deal.
The rookie deal.
But the rookie deal is going to come into play in terms of whether or not you can sign an additional quarterback. Yeah, right? Because you're not going to sign a free agent quarterback to 2 years.
Unless you could. I mean,
unless it's Mike White.
I mean, Mike White is a. I think his ceiling is $10 million.
Right, but $10 million over what period of time?
I would do a 1-year deal.
I mean, he did a 1-year deal this year, didn't he?
Yeah, I would do a 1-year deal. I don't. I'm kind of with Kyle. I don't think he's going to get and command much more than that on the on the street. I think. But here's the question: you got Garoppolo or you got Mike White. You're not signing both.
It's going to be
And I think
either or.
that's
Right.
yeah. You're not signing
And
both.
that's the point that I'm making.
Yeah.
And that's the point that I'm
You're just
making.
not. That's
right?
all. That's all we're saying, Kyle. You're just
even
not
if
signing
even
both.
if it's between, and again, Brandon, I reluctantly agree with you. Even if it becomes Gardner Minshew, right? And
don't act like you
right,
tasted something.
you're not. You're not. Shut up.
I
You're
choose
not
something.
You're not. It's not going to be a choice between Mike White and Minshew, because you're not going to be able to sign both of them. So it's going to be Mike White or Gardner Minshew.
You know what?
Zach Wilson.
Since we're speaking about this, let's get into our next act because it's so related. Our act, basically, I named it Add, Subtract, or Stays the Same. Looking forward into 2023, what do the Jets need to add? What do they need to delete or get rid of? And what should just stay the same for the betterment of the team in 2023? So, Kerry, I interrupted you. I'm just going to carry on with you. Why don't you talk to me a little bit about that?
Offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach.
Wait,
gone.
He said gone.
Gone. I don't want to see you back here.
Wow.
What?
I need something else. I need veteran. I need a veteran offensive coordinator that can basically whip Zach Wilson into shape. Not only during the season, but during the offseason. Put him on a program that can develop him as a quarterback because he clearly hasn't been developed yet. It's been 2 years. He's been 2 years with this offensive coordinator. Am I right or wrong?
Now you're right, but Dad,
Right. He's been 2 years. He's been 2 years with this head coach too. Now I'm not going to address the head coach only because I don't see a viable replacement for him this year that opens my eyes that we can attain. We can't attain Peyton because we got to give up first round talent, right? We can't attain Harbaugh because he ain't looking at the Jets. So I'm not willing to sign or try to go after a different head coach because I don't see anybody else that wets my whistle.
McVay,
for lack of a better term.
What
I say is that the head coach stays, right? What I say stays stagnant. Well, not stagnant, but stays the same is our skill position, specifically the running back position, right? The cornerback position,
hands down,
and to an extent, the wide receiver position with a tweak here and there, right? And that tweak would be, Corey Davis, maybe just letting him go outright and picking up another receiver either in free agency, but I prefer through the draft because I think there are a number of receivers in the draft that could really make this receiving core dynamic.
Can I make a point because I'm going to need to step off?
Sure.
So piggybacking on what Kerry's saying, you fire Mike LaFleur, he goes back to San Francisco. They make him the assistant OC, the OC in title with Shanahan. 2 years from now, he's the head coach of an NFL franchise, and Zach Wilson's not any better. So I don't agree with firing the OC at all.
Yeah, what he's
saying.
So what you're saying, Zach Wilson. So what you're saying, Zach Wilson won't be with the Jets.
I see you.
So what I'm saying is that Rob Calabrese, the quarterback coach, that guy falls on the sword. That's the guy you get rid of, and you bring in somebody else to work with him. I agree with your free agent assessments, Kerry. For C.J. Mosley, Carl Lawson, Corey Davis, unless they're taking pay cuts, thank you for your service. I would love to keep C.J. Mosley at a cap-friendly figure because going back to what Brandon was saying about the foundational pieces, you have a number one guy in C.J. Mosley when he's in the middle of your defense. So I like him, but I don't like him at $22 million a year.
He
And
already
that,
took a pay cut too.
yeah. So, well,
Right.
I mean, he also sat out a year. So, there's some give back that maybe we can get there. But Carl Lawson did not materialize into what we thought he was going to be. He just doesn't. He doesn't get it done. And we got young guys that have better potential right now. So unfortunately, he would have to take a pay cut to stay too. Corey Davis is in the training room. The so those are my subtractions. However, I'd like to see. First of all, I give solid credit for the defense. I don't blame him for the offense. He didn't come in here as an offensive guy. He came in there as a defensive guy. He turned a last place defense into a top 10 defense.
Top five.
And,
Top five.
Top five. And anybody who's calling for Saleh to get fired, I think it is not really seeing the forest for the trees. But there is going to need to be in year 3. It's a 10-win season and a playoff berth for him to keep his job, because that's what improvement looks like.
Yeah.
So you can't have a second collapse 2 years in a row and expect that you're not going to be on the hot seat, especially because you wasted your quarterback cycle. You wasted your 3-year rookie deal quarterback cycle, and you need to. Joe Douglas is going to need to account for that, not Robert Saleh. That's a Joe Douglas swing and miss, and he has swung and hit on a lot of other things. Love the drafts that he's had so far. Also think that he's the type of guy that's going to be accountable and go out and fix it, even if he was the one that caused it to be broken in the first place. So, I don't know. I don't know who else is going to be available for that quarterback spot. That's going to kind of let itself be figured out in the hot stove free agency period before the draft. But I agree with all of you that the draft is not where I'm going to find a quarterback this year. I would be in the free agent market for it. So, hey guys, I got to go take care of some things over here. I'll try to not be so depressed on the text thread going forward.
Hey, listen, that was a highly logical and articulate rant, but it was very monotone. So we're all on the same
monotone.
place. Yeah, it's the monotone. Yeah.
So I will say this too before I leave. Hard to watch somebody collapse on the football field ever. In the way that everybody saw the Damar Hamlin thing. It just reminds everybody, learn CPR, hands only. If that's the only thing that you can learn, you can go online and in 10 minutes know how to save somebody's life. So, great to see that the Buffalo Bills are kind of, out of, the feelings that they get from that, and Damar is doing better and everything. And I think Brandon brought it up, when we were talking yesterday, watching the league come around this situation just shows, the reason why we have a podcast like this is because we know the brotherhood that we gain from football. And it's something that happens year after year. And there's a lot of people that'll talk badly about football, but not remember that we care deeply about the family we choose when we play football. So.
Amen. And part of the family is your dad too. There's not a bigger Baldwin Bruin than your dad. So
yeah.
I don't want to get into the particulars or anything, Kyle, but we got that text from you, and I'm just glad that he's on the recovery. And God bless him. And Mr. McKenna, we love you. All right, we grew up.
Yeah, I will give him all that too, and let him know.
Yeah, man.
All right, fellas.
And your mom and your sister, man, your whole family, bro.
You got it.
All right, my man.
All right, guys.
All right, Kyle.
Peace.
Later.
Hey.
Yeah, guys. So, Brian, I want to let you go next. I wanted to give Kyle the floor and then I saw you, chomping at the bit as if you're about to hop in on some double dutch, like ready to get in. So why don't you go ahead, B?
That's right.
Yeah.
You said you wanted to give Kyle LaFleur.
That's what I was. That's what I was thinking too. Love it, love it.
You know that.
Listen, I loved everything that he said. I mean, Lafleur to me, Lafleur stays here as offensive coordinator. I just want consistency here, and just changing systems and all that kind of stuff every 2 years. That's not going to help Zach be successful at the end of the day. But as far as going and staying, I think CJ Mosley finds a way to stay a New York Jet. So hopefully that ends up coming to fruition, restructure the deal, whatever you need to do to get it done. He's the leader on that defense. Free safety, out of here. We need a new one, right? I mean, we just do. The offensive line, let's start there. Right? At least like 80% of the offensive line needs to be turned over. Maybe I keep McGovern at center. I have no problem doing that. And AVT. Everything else needs to be swapped out. And Joe Douglas just has a lot of work to do there, because it's tough to evaluate any quarterback when they're getting their ribs cracked. They're getting sacked every other play. You can't keep a consistent running game going, right? And so the offensive line was key, and one of the keys to the reason why we weren't successful as a team this year, right? At the end of the day. So I think a lot of the what goes and what stays as far as the things that go is the offensive line, man. We have to have a complete turnover, and hopefully they stay healthy. Even if we had some folks, come in, they just didn't stay healthy at the end of the day, right? To get some consistency going there. Obviously, quarterback. I mean, we said that at nauseum.
I'm sorry to step on your beat, but just to add on to what you're saying, it just shows you how important O-line depth is. Because what did they say? I think today was like the 9th different offensive line, starting offensive line lineup we had, or maybe even more. I think I'm selling it short by saying 9, but it just shows them, how important O-line depth is. But go ahead, B.
Well, true, and the thing is, then I'll watch a game and they say, hey, this whole offensive line has started from the first game until whatever game we were playing them, like Minnesota or some other team we were playing. They had the same line, starting O line the entire year. Injuries were just, I mean, we couldn't keep a tackle on the field, right? Two tackles, right? 2 guards that played together. I mean, I don't even know who played guard for us today, to be honest, with Feeney and the other dude.
It was
Feeney and Tomlinson.
Tomlinson, and it was the Canadian dude.
It was Feeney. Feeney played guard.
Yeah, he played guard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the other guy played too, because he like totally threw some whoever it was, man. I mean, again, that's right. It was a turnstile of offensive linemen, and you can't play offense consistently with that. So I mean, listen, he already mentioned Corey Davis going, so we got to swap that out. But I think we have foundation at running back and wide receiver and corner, defensive line, a lot of the important units on the team in order to be successful. Linebacker, I think we need improvement there. I just feel like something's missing, right, on those outside linebackers. Something's missing. I like Quincy. I'd like to keep him, but we need somebody else there that's like a playmaker. That's just can rush.
Why don't you like Quincy, bro? Why don't you like him?
I didn't say I didn't like him. I didn't say I didn't like him. What I'm saying,
I feel like you've been bragging on.
No, my point is that he is not a 1 or 2 linebacker.
No, he's not.
He is a third option at linebacker.
Right.
Because he cannot cover. He's limited. He has significant limitations in terms of coverage, right? And in terms of getting caught running downhill, right? So that's just my opinion about it. I like him. I actually like him a lot. I just don't think that we can't lean on him as being our first or second option at impact linebacker.
Do you like him or Quan better?
I probably like him better. But again, Quan shouldn't be
It's not saying
30,
much.
you know.
Yeah, that's not saying much. Quan is he's not even really a starter. Or shouldn't really.
I think Quan is a former Pro Bowler.
Yeah, former.
Yeah, but former, you said it right.
Yeah. So, but again, I mean, if we're picking two things to replace that are key, quarterback and offensive line. Yeah. Right. I mean, if everything else stayed the same and we got improvement at quarterback, I don't even need you to be, a top 10 quarterback. Top 15? Yeah. Can you be top half? Can you keep drives going by hitting people over the middle accurately and have some movement in the pocket so that you're not taking a sack on every fifth play, and then not have the big turnover? That's all I need from my quarterback. And the offensive line, I mean, listen, I need you to keep my quarterback upright and open some holes.
You know what, Brian? You may have been right 5 years ago. Remember, you were championing who?
Kirk Cousins.
You wanted Kirk Cousins here.
Right.
He is an above average to good quarterback. He's like top 15. And, I didn't
Y'all destroyed me, man. Destroyed me for it. I mean, for years. It's fine. It's fine.
Fine. I'm not certain Kirk Cousins would have done well with LaFleur as his offensive coordinator either.
Nah, man.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm a visionary, bro. It is what it is.
Or this old line.
All right, I'm a visionary, bro.
I'm gonna hop in on this one for the add, subtract, and stay the same. I'm gonna start with stay the same, because we always read the stuff. We read the blogs, the articles, and stuff, and we send them back and forth to one another in our chat and everything. And there's a lot of fans out there that want to see Douglas go. I don't want to see Douglas go. Douglas stays.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, I know. The front office stays for the most part, unless Joe Douglas says that there needs to be a move in, say, player personnel or what have you. But Douglas is a player personnel guy. That's how he climbed the ladder. So I'm sure he's got the right people in the chair, and if not, he would replace that person with the right person. So I am secure with Douglas there. I also want to keep Robert Saleh. Okay, the offense struggled this year, but we went from last in defense to top 5 this year. The defensive coordinator, who we were hammering, and I know I was hammering him last year, Ulbrich, who was a former linebacker, and I think he played for the 49ers as well. That whole San Francisco scheme, he's got a full handle on, and so does Robert Saleh, and they brought it here to the Jets. Okay? So I think that we need to keep that the same. We need to keep our special teams coach the same, keep our kicker the same, and keep Hardy, our special teams player the same as well.
What about the punter?
What
about our punter?
Well, I'm going to get on to subtract next.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah. So, he fits that equation. How about that? Play on words. Yeah, it fits. And then, so that's going to stay the same. All right. So, listen, I'm getting rid of, and I'm subtracting Braden Mann. He's out of here. Okay? Yeah. I'm going to let Corey Davis walk and see if we can entice someone else to come in. Hopefully, they're not turned off by the merry-go-round of a quarterback position we have. I think what we need to do before the receivers, though, is really get some O-linemen in here. All righty? But let me just keep on subtracting. I'm sorry, I got a little distracted. Also, you know what? I mean, if Berrios is going to cost too much money, if letting him go is a cap-friendly thing, I'm going to let him go. He wasn't used as much in the offense. He didn't turn in a Pro Bowl-type punt return or kick return season that he did last year. I do like him, though. He's very sure-handed. That's very important when you're punting the ball and you have your punt return team out there. I never have to doubt that he's going to catch that ball. So
as a punt returner, though, right?
As a punt returner, correct. Yes,
not as a game-winning touchdown, right?
Not as a game-winning touchdown.
No.
Yeah,
come on.
Like what the Bills did today twice. You know what I'm saying?
Like against the Vikings.
Exactly.
Yeah. What?
Against the Vikings. You remember he dropped the pass in the end zone?
And well, you know what he did? He did. But I think that's the only one, correct?
In the end zone, sure.
I'm just saying, just dropping. Period. Are you gonna? So hold on. Are you saying that he's not short-handed?
No, I was just making a dig when you said he was short-handed.
Yeah, he is short-handed.
Had he have made that catch, we would have probably been.
Say he was very short-handed, but now it's questionable.
Right. Okay. Fine. Whatever. Okay. You got me. Okay. You got me. So and Denzel Mims, he can go. You know.
He's going. He's not. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not explosive. He's not worthy of a second-round pick. He shows no explosion whatsoever. His route running is marginal. His hands are marginal. He can bounce.
He stays in
He's
the
like
trainer's room too.
Yeah, he does. He's like that receiver Treadwell or whatever his name is that was the first-round draft pick that it's just he doesn't. So he can go, and the people that I want to keep, you know what I'm saying, or not keep but add, not necessarily people but positions. It's like a broken record. Oh, offensive line, offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. We need a tackle, and I'd like to bring in another guard as well. So I think we draft an offensive tackle and we bring another offensive tackle free agency. We figure out a way to get Dwayne Brown off the team. Mekhi Becton, we nurse him back to health, and we see what he does if he can do anything. But I think we need to add that, and then I think Laken Tomlinson stays because it would be too much of a cap hit for us. But I think we need to get an offensive guard in here. I do like Nate Herbig, but you play the backup role, bro, and we're going to bring AVT back in, and then we're going to bring another guard in to compete with you to be that third person in, or maybe to replace, Laken Tomlinson if he doesn't have a good camp. So
let me ask you this: would you, again, this is off topic, but would you move Laken Tomlinson to the right side and put AVT at left guard and let him live at this point, given how terrible Laken played?
The reason why they moved AVT is because Laken played. He played.
Left.
Where did he play? He played right guard. No, left guard.
Left guard. Yeah.
Left guard his entire career, and he had a lot of success in San Francisco.
Well, he didn't have any success this year, so that's
I
what
know
I'm
that.
saying.
I know.
So out the window for me. So
yeah,
is that AVT was playing at an All-Pro level at 3 positions. My thing is, I'm putting him where I need him the most, and I think I need him the most at left guard.
I hear you. My thing is, since AVT basically can play any position, I'm going to place Tomlinson wherever he plays best, and then have AVT play the other position. So if I do move him to the right guard,
right,
then I'm going to have to switch AVT more competent. You see what I'm saying?
Honestly, what I would probably do is, because you're stuck. I'm not saying you're stuck with Dwayne Brown, but I still think Dwayne Brown played a lot better than Laken Tomlinson at that left tackle position as opposed to Laken at the right guard position.
He did
guard position. So I would put Laken on the right side, draft a right tackle, and let Laken help him out as far as being a veteran presence, and sit AVT right there at that left guard position and let him be an All-Pro for 10 years.
I think we have a good right tackle already in Max Mitchell. But it all depends if he comes back from the blood clots and this and that. Mm-hmm. But I would prefer to draft a left tackle because we really need to cover up the big hole that Mekhi Becton left us. And Dwayne Brown, he's been playing with that shoulder injury the entire season, and I'm not sure if I 100% trust him. I think he's 37 years old.
Yeah, he's long in the tooth.
Yeah, and I want to get young and strong at that position, So
we'll see what's available. My thing is look, I want a center in the second round, and I want a stud tackle in the first round.
I'll take it.
After that, I don't care. After that, we can figure it out.
Yep, that's fine with me. And then also, I want a wide receiver because I'm already going to let Corey Davis test his own market in free agency, and I don't believe in Mims, so I want another wide receiver. And as you know, rookie wide receivers, if you're good, you will produce in your rookie year in the NFL. So I don't mind starting a rookie like we did this year, and then having him team up with Garrett Wilson and just have an electric show. You know what I'm saying? In theory, hopefully our quarterback and our O-line can allow that to happen. But
that's a heavy wish list for
it
for the
is a heavy wish list.
first couple rounds, man. But I mean, I'm with you. I think we need to go. I don't want to sign a free agent wide receiver. It's just too much money.
No,
So too
not
much
doing
money.
it.
No.
Yeah.
So
Doing it.
Because you know what? And Kerry, I do want to get another linebacker. By the way, I do want to get another linebacker. Quan was signed on a 1-year deal. I love Quincy. I think he stays. We should get another linebacker to complement Mosley, and just look at the type of linebackers the 49ers have. They've won 11 games in a row. I think maybe after today, 12. And their defense is the number 1 defense in the league. They have Fred Warner. They have that guy Greenwood, and another linebacker.
I believe you can get a linebacker in free agency.
Yep.
That would be less expensive than trying to sign a receiver in free agency. So
Totally.
I would sign that I would draft that receiver in the 3rd round.
I draft the receiver in the 2nd round.
No,
and
I want
get that center in the 3rd.
I want linemen in the first 2 rounds. That's it. I'm not even. If they even look in another direction, I'm going to be upset. That's what I'm saying. 2 linemen, first,
All right, bet.
2nd. That's it. Not hearing anything other than that.
All right, listen, B, cue that music up because I'm gonna let Kerry go first because he looks like if they draft somebody else in the 2nd round, he's gonna flip. So he probably wants to tweet me, peek me real quick and get his emotions out.
All right. Let's go. Let's go. All right, man, hit it.
So, yeah, everybody, this is the segment that we call Tweak Me, Pick Me, all right? This is where we talk about things that make us feel great and then also things that make us not feel so great in regards to the Jets or just New York sports or the culture in general. So, like I said before, I'm going to give the reins to Kerry because he's already, fired up, looking like Keith Sweat and, right there. He looks like a mix of Keith
He got a
Sweat
turtleneck on? Turtleneck
on? He's about to make it last
forever. and ever.
Keith Sweat and Idris. Go ahead.
Hey, look. I think we had this discussion while the game was going on in the text thread. That horse collar call
garbage
against Quincy Williams was garbage. Garbage. And it epitomized how our season went. It was a 15-yard penalty that led to the 3-point field goal. And for the season to end that way on a bad call, it doesn't sit well for me. In addition to how we played down the stretch, I'd like to point out that I did predict that we would be 7-10 at the end of the season, but I will say that because we started out 7-3, I had higher expectations, based on how we started. So that's what tweaks me. What piques me is that our rookie wide receiver, who more than likely will be rookie of the year on the offensive side of the ball, Garrett Wilson, despite all of the deplorable quarterback play for this entire season, this guy still will become or should become offensive rookie of the year and holds the rookie receiving yard record for the Jets all time.
And he beat out that turkey Keyshawn for it.
Beat out Keyshawn for that title. So look, the sky is the limit with this guy. The sky is the limit with Sauce Gardner. The sky is the limit with Breece Hall. So let's go Jets.
2023.
Mm-hmm. You.
All right, B, what's up? What you got?
All right. Let's see. So as far as peaks, I got 2. First and foremost, it's the DeMar Hamlin, right, and where he is at this juncture. We all watched what happened on Monday night I just sat down literally probably like a play before. And just, hey, let me just arbitrarily watch this game, and then saw what happened, and obviously it captivated the entire country. And to see where he is right now after all the prayers, and the medical professionals that worked on him, and just everybody that was responsible for him being alive, and have him sitting up in his bed during the Bills game today, it's just remarkable. His turnaround. So um, I'm glad to see that he has recovered. Glad for his family, his friends, the Buffalo Bills community. Everybody connected to that game. T. Higgins. I mean, there's a lot of people that mentally were in a bad place for a couple days. So glad to see that young man and where he is right now. So that's my first peak. Second peak is
Amen.
The New York Knicks. Say that.
Woo!
Right? I mean, yeah.
Uh-huh.
22-18. I mean, normally in January we're like completely out of it, and again we're mocking different players in the draft and all that kind of stuff. Right now we're not doing that, man. Not doing that.
And we're doing it without RJ.
Without RJ right now. I mean, they had lost 5 games in a row after winning like 8 or 10 games in a row prior to that, and now they've won a couple of games in a row as well. Oh man, Julius Randle's playing out of his mind. But Jalen Brunson, right? And I'm going to mention somebody else too. But Jalen Brunson,
he's the quarterback.
I mean,
Brunson is the quarterback.
I mean,
the Knicks have a quarterback, right?
Can we talk about it? I mean, I don't care what you needed to do in order to get this guy. You need to hire his auntie, and you needed to give him the right food or whatever else in order to sign this guy as a free agent, no less. We didn't even have to trade assets for him, just money. And then people were talking about the contract, and we're paying a lot of money to this guy. We don't know what it. Listen, I saw it. I was like, this dude is gonna be the truth, and he has exceeded my expectations, averaging 21 points a game, 6.6 assists to 2.2 turnovers. I mean, it's just, and when all you need to do was watch the Raptors game yesterday or the day before yesterday, right? And how he just ate him up in the fourth quarter. I mean, he is really under control when it's needed and gets everybody in their spots. But to add to that, Quentin Grimes. That's just my guy, right? I mean, I wish they would give him more shots because I think he can take it on. But his defense against Siakam, the other day against Toronto, and just in general, two-way player, the epitome of it. And again, his jumper is sweet, quick, and lights out. I love it. All right, and
he was on the bench for a while too, and I remember you and Kerry were just like, we need to see more of him.
Yeah.
And now the organization they're like, all right, here's your chance.
There you go.
Good, man.
And we're playing the young guys, which we needed to at this point, right? Love Derrick Rose, trade the dude at this point, right? I mean, we got guys out there that are going to get the job done. So those are my peaks. Listen, I spoke about it earlier. Just tweaked about how we ended the season, the New York Jets, right? I mean, the season itself, like Coach said, disappointment or success. I feel like ultimately, we take a step back, we go to the Bahamas, have a couple beverages, whatever, come back. We'll be like, you know what? Season overall was a success in what we saw, improvement in a lot of different players and a lot of different young players. However, it is disappointing to go out this way. We had 6 opportunities at it. 6. 6. Yeah. And we had the Detroit game, right? As a perfect example there, where it's just one play. We kept them down the whole game. One play turns into what we ended up seeing at the end of the day. So it is disappointing to go out like how we went out, but I still think ultimately that based on the goals established at the beginning of the season, it still was a success. We'll see where we end up next year.
Yeah. Well said. I love the Knicks. The Knicks peak me. I love it. So my tweak me, peak me. I'm going to go with my tweak first. And it's basically everything that we spoke about. that basically summarizes what we spoke about throughout this whole podcast today, as we just pull together the Jets 2022 season. And it's really the thing that tweaks me. It's the quarterback and the offensive line. You know, I think that having Brees camouflaged the poor strength of the offensive line as far as being able to play well together, because he was such a dynamic player. And when he left, it really hurt us. And then when AVT left us, it just blew the doors wide open. So we really need help on that offensive line. And just like what Brian said earlier, it's really hard to, one, evaluate a quarterback, and two, to have a good quarterback play well if the offensive line is not good. And I'm going to use the example of what Tom Brady went through this year. You know, a lot of people are talking about his diminished skills and this and that. I don't see it. I don't think Tom Brady's skills have diminished. I think he's the same Tom Brady as before. As a matter of fact, I think he threw the most completed passes this
Yeah.
season than any quarterback ever. I think it was like 450 something or 60 something.
Yeah, he broke his own record.
Yeah, he broke the record, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's just the fact that his offensive line since camp was decimated, decimated. And he still brought the team to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So offensive line means a lot. And we talk about the offensive line too much. You know you have a good offensive line when you don't talk about them and you don't know their names. All righty?
Sure.
That's how you know. That's the telltale sign. So we need to shore up our quarterback room, and we need to get some good guys in on the offensive line and weed out the rest. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we need to take the biblical reference of the wheat and the fares. I'm sorry, the wheat and the tares. So the tares are the imposters. You get them out of there, and you grow the good wheat. All righty. The peak me, just like what Brian was talking about. I'm just really happy about the continued improvement of Damar Hamlin. And, you know, I love the way that it's brought like the league and the culture around it together for something that's good. You know what I'm saying? And everyone was on his side. You know, no matter your background, your race, your color, your creed, whatever, everyone was showing love to this kid. And I absolutely loved it. And I think, you know, this is what sports helps to do. You know, it helps to kind of get rid of the divide and bring people together. And, you know, you can find I see blessings in this, even though it's a tragic thing, but blessings can come from tragedy as well. And I'm just so happy that, one, first and foremost, that this young man is recovering and his family is there and they're recovering emotionally and spiritually as well. And I just hope he makes a 100% recovery. And you know, it just feels like a feel good story, you know, and it feels so good because it's like it's a story, and it's like based on real life events, and those are like the best stories, you know.
Yep.
Like when you go to the movies or something and then you see based on true events, it just makes it even more engaging to you, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I think that's why people just around the country kind of grip to it, you know what I'm saying? Because it could happen to anyone, you know. We play football, people's children's play, you know, football, friends, family, this and that, and just sports in general, because this could have happened in any sport. You know what I'm saying? You know, a collision like that, you know,
Yeah.
accidentally or whatever, you know. So it's just a feel good story, and I love it that he's recovering. And I'm gonna go out, and as a result of this, I'm gonna say that I am officially rooting for the Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl. How about that?
Wow.
And they're in the AFC East, and I'm a Jets fan, but I think that this story would just be beautifully, and it would just come full circle into a beautiful thing for Damar Hamlin and the Bills and everything. You know, to have them holding up the Lombardi Trophy. You know what I'm saying? I know there's going to be a lot of Jet fans out there that disagree with me, but we're not in it. You know, so I'm going to root for Damar Hamlin and the Buffalo Bills. It will be a beautiful, beautiful story and something good for the culture. I love it. I'm sticking with that. I don't care what anybody says. Come fight me. Um, And I'm out of shape, so I'll probably lose that anyway. So, all righty. With that comedic no and Kerry giving me the eye and shaking his head, let me read my outro real quick. Kerry, I love you, bro. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching another episode of the BKBK podcast. We want to be able to keep bringing you the latest news and viewpoints of where sports and the culture collide and the New York Jets reign supreme. So keep watching. You can find us on Facebook on our BKBK podcast fan page. Find us on Twitter at BKBK podcast, on Instagram at BKBK podcast, as well as on YouTube. When you go to YouTube, just type in BKBK podcast. Make sure, guys, hit the like and the subscribe button. Share us all over the place. Help build the viewership and all that stuff. And if you can only just say listen to us or whatever, just go to iTunes. Go to bkbkpodcast.podomatic.com. All right, you can listen to us driving, doing work, mopping the floor, washing the dishes, doing whatever you want to do. All righty, and that's it. All right, so let's go Jets. Let's go Baldwin Bruins. All right, never forget about them. And let's go Team BKBK. And
That's
we're
right.
out.